All right, welcome back to the formulaic approach. Now, today we are going to be talking about the English structure. Now, what we basically want to deal with is how the English structure is built up. Exactly, the concept of building up in English language. Okay, so what makes up the language we are speaking? That's what we want to deal with here. Exactly. So keep in mind and stick with me till the end. You are going to understand very well how the English structure is built up. All right, so the English structure actually begins with the letters of the alphabet. The letters of the alphabet. Okay, so what do we mean by that? We mean the 26 letters. Of course, we have A, B, C, D to Z. Is that clear? So that's the smallest English structure, the letters of the alphabet. Now, the second structure, keep in mind, I'll just make sure you are going with me. The letters of the alphabet are divided into two. We have vowels and consonants. Consonants. The vowels are 5 in number and the consonants are 21 in number. Not the sounds. The sounds are different. The letters are 5, the consonants are 21. Now the letters, when you now combine them in different ways, you now begin to make what is called a morpheme. A morpheme. Now what is a morpheme? A morpheme is basically two or more letters combined. So for example, if I combine A and B, for example, what does this make? This makes ab, right? If I combine N and O, what does this make? It makes no. If I combine it with R, it makes no, right? Exactly. If I combine this with M, it makes nom. This is where I'm combining different fragments, okay? And this is a word, of course, right? Now, if I combine A plus L, for example, I make R. Does that make sense? So, if I combine this with LY, another morpheme, I make Ali. This does not really make sense. That is why a morpheme is the smallest English fragment that may or may not make sense. Exactly. The smallest structure that may or may not have a meaning. Exactly. And they are typically used as affixes. They are typically used as what? Affixes. Those are suffix. This one will be used as a prefix, and some are used as suffixes. Exactly now. Prefix. Right. Now, what if I now combine morpheme and morpheme? Keep in mind I said they may or may not make sense. Here, ab does not really have a meaning of its own. No has a meaning of its own. No does have a meaning of its own. Nom does have a meaning of its own. So, morpheme may or may not have a meaning. Then al does not have a meaning of its own. ALY does not have a meaning of its own. Do you understand now? So, but what if we now combine different morphemes together? What do we make? You make a word. Make what? A word. So a word is the smallest English fragment that always has a meaning. The word is what? The smallest English fragment that always has what? Has a meaning. Exactly. So for example, morpheme may or may not make meaning, but word always make meaning. One example is this. Look at this guy. We start with no. When we combine it with R, it made nom, right? RM, it made nom. Now, if we combine nom with AB or with AL, let's combine with AL, what will it give us? It will give us normal, right? It becomes normal. But if we combine AB with it, it becomes what? Abnormal, right? It becomes abnormal. If we combine it further with LY, it becomes abnormally. You see the way we built up one word, but with different morphemes together. Do you understand now? So that's a word. A word is different morphemes together with letters of the alphabet. When you combine it that way, you're going to make a word. Now, look at this. This word from which we started is going to be the base word. It's going to be the what? The base word. Then every other addition to it will be the morphemes. Exactly. And it could be word plus word because there are two types of word. You have the simple and the compound. The simple word and the compound. There are some people say there's also complex word. Complex word is just referring to big grammars, okay, big vocabularies. Like if I say hermetic, or ephemeral, or somnambulism. Do you understand? Those words are just big words. So that's what some people might categorize as complex words, but they're not generally complex. They are still simple if you do know their meaning. The two categories I use are simple words and compound words. Simple words are word, but one word words. That is, those are simple words. But compound words are one double or multiple words. Exactly, that is, we have more than one word that make up a compound word, but in a simple word, we have just one word. Look at this guy. This is just one word. Exactly. But for compound words, they are easily identified by the presence of an hyphen separating the two words that are coupled together. Exactly. So, for example, compound word, you have simple words. All these ones we have listed, these guys that we have made so far, they are simple words because they contain only one word. But look at this one, for example. Step brother. Step brother is one word, but it's a compound word, so we write it this way. It is the correct form of writing. Correct way to write it. Step brother. Mother-in-law. Look at this. These are three words together. Mother-in-law. Okay? Man-o-war. Man-o-war. Look at this. These are compound words. These are compound words. Director general. Director general. Do you understand now? So those are compound words, and these one word words are simple words. Is that clear? Now, when we now combine, make sure you are taking note, okay? When we now combine words together, what do we make? If you combine words without a verb, what you make is called a phrase. And that's what we're going to start from. We're going to talk about a phrase soon, in the next video. Now, what is a phrase? A phrase is basically a group of words that contain no finite verb. So there is no finite verb. Since there is no verb, it is meaningless. For that reason, it's a phrase. Keep in mind. You might tend to define it as a group of words that has no meaning, but it is not complete to just say it has no meaning, because there are some group of words that are actually clauses that don't have complete meaning. Okay? So phrases also do not convey full meaning. And it is because of the absence of verb. So that's what separates a phrase from a clause. A clause has a verb, but a phrase does not have a verb. That is why the moment I combine a phrase with a verb, I make what is called a clause. Exactly. A word is just many words, no verb. Then a clause is many words plus at least a verb makes a clause. Exactly. Then if I now have many clauses, then I can make a sentence. In fact, the smallest sentence is a type of clause. The simplest sentence is called a subordinate, a main clause. A main clause. Exactly. A main clause. So that's the simplest sentence. But the point is that many clauses together, two or more clauses, can make a sentence. When we now combine sentences together, so sentence is the one we speak now, the one we use to communicate most of the time. Sentence is the one we use in communicating. And there are different types of sentences. Of course, from here there are different types too. So that's what we're going to deal with now in the next video. Now we have sentence. When you now combine many sentences together, you can make a paragraph. That's what we call it. A paragraph. Now don't misplace these two things. A paragraph is not that small space that you leave before you start a note when you are writing. A paragraph is basically a complete idea before another idea in a passage. A complete idea before you go to another idea. So that space you leave is called indentation. Indentation space. So the act of indenting is to leave this space. So it's just to design your writing to make it apparent that you are starting a new idea in the next line. So you leave this space to show that it is not part of the initial idea. So it's called indentation. That space, not paragraph. Paragraph is that complete idea. So this is the first paragraph. You start in another place. Second paragraph, start in another place. Third paragraph. Do you understand? So that's what a paragraph is. Then what is so when we now combine paragraphs together, what do we make? We make a passage, and that's a full or complete English structure. So this will be for English structure. In the next video, we are going to talk about phrases. We'll start from phrases. Words are quite simple. One of what we'll do with the words are antonyms and synonyms, big words, okay, complex words, and their meanings and their synonyms and antonyms. We are going to do a lot of them. So, like I said, we're going to begin with phrases. Do also subscribe to the channel and share the video with your friend. God bless you.